Good morning, friends. It's good to be here this morning. Thanks for joining us. This is Journey Home Meditation, and this is our morning sit. This is our shared daily practice of breath work. You know, I'm not big on using the term breath work these days. This is just some breathing. And we're going to share a little bit of practice of breathing together. We're going to share in a little bit of contemplation and some poetry, and we'll have some shared meditative practice as well. We're sitting in the beside meditation hall, and the music you are currently listening to is Mark Deutsch with a track of his called Laja. So I'm glad that you are here today, and I am very happy to be here. I think I'm going to go ahead and take these off, and I'm going to take off this ice pack. I don't know what I did to my elbow. I have some ideas, but it's a reminder to me that the teachings that are centuries and centuries old are founded in a certain level of scientific information gathering. When the Buddha says that our body is of the nature to get sick, our body is of the nature to get old, and our body is of the nature to die. So pain is part of this process, for sure. And it brings my thoughts always back to the memory that everything is going away. Everything is going away. Everything is arriving, everything is leaving. I was listening to Mary Oliver this morning, and she was talking about breath. She has a poem where she's sitting with some deer in the morning, and maybe I could find the poem actually. Let's see. But as she's telling us this story about the deer, she has a couple of lines where she says, flowing inward and flowing outward, something along these lines. I wish I will find the poem. I think this is it right here.
5 a.m. in the pine woods. I'd seen their hoof prints in the deep needle and knew they ended the long night under the pines, walking like two mute and beautiful women toward the deeper woods. So I got up in the dark and went there. They came slowly down the hill and looked at me sitting under the blue trees. Shyly, they stepped closer and stared from under their thick lashes and even nibbled some damp tassels of weeds. This is not a poem about a dream, though it could be. This is a poem about the world that is ours, or could be. Finally, one of them, I swear it, would have come to my arms. But the other stamped sharp hoof in the pine needles like the tap of sanity, and they went off together through the trees. When I woke, I was alone. I was thinking, so this is how you swim inward. So this is how you flow outward. So this is how you pray.
Hmm. So this is how you swim inward. So this is how you flow outward. So this is how you pray. Hmm. I just love the deeply giving nature of that poem, how it just offers us this opportunity to step in. She says, this is not a dream, but it could be. And that makes me think about the ways in which we use the word dream, even in this culture, in this Western culture, in this American culture. It's almost as if we use it diminutively. Like we say things like, oh, well, that was just a dream. That was just a silly dream. And I think about in a world where everything is going away all of the time, and we have to know this to really be able to be honest and to be here uh, fully in our bodies. I think we have to come to some understanding that it's all going away. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe we could live completely ignorantly of that truth, and it's still a truth, and it still doesn't matter whether we are aware of it or not. But think about in that world, in that context, to dream is not to escape. To dream is to build. To dream is to create within this understanding worlds of possibility. To dream is to see us as larger than we think we are. And it's not until we can see that we are larger than we think we are that we can become larger than we think we are. So I don't think that dreaming needs to be used in such a diminutive way. And I don't think that Mary Oliver at all is using that term to diminish it. In fact, she says this is not a dream, but it could be. You know, this place of place of place, this place of place. She's in this place where she belongs in this place, and she's with these deer, and there's a small reminder of the boundaries that we have. The boundaries are not saying, you know, you can't be here. The boundaries are saying this is where you can be. This is how you can be. Just a beautiful poem to hear this morning on my drive in, and to feel the temporary nature of my body showing itself in degradation. you know, I, I I don't think I did anything heroic to injure my elbow. I think I probably um, lifted my cup of tea wrong. I don't know, but the the lesson that I was taking from that is not a lesson of punishment, but a lesson of release. Okay, yeah, put some ice on it. Feel that healing power of cold, and move through your morning, knowing that this too is part of it all. So that's what I did. What a strange thought. Maybe before we go any further, we could take just a few breaths. Remember that you're going to breathe in and out all day, every day, for the entirety of your life, from the moment you are born to the moment that you leave the body, or that this body crumbles down into the earth. You will breathe in and out. So, this is not some supernatural practice that we have. This is not a dream, though it could be, Mary Oliver says. And this is what is real in the world. This breath right now is going to happen. So bringing our awareness to it, that's different. Well, we're not creating the breath in that moment, but we are bringing our focus and our attention this way. And when we are bringing our attention towards the breath, we are bringing our attention towards the most basic of things that we do. It is not complicated. It's complex. There's complexities and layers, and there's all sorts of things happening on all sorts of levels. But it's simple things. So this is what it is to swim inward. So this is what it is to flow outward. So let's bring our attention into our own breath just for a few moments and let our bodies begin to settle into place. Our thought body, our emotional body, our physical body, our spiritual body, all of these different bodies, let them come together just for a moment. Feel as you sit in this moment, feel as if you are coming together into this place. When you find yourself coming up against tension or blockage, try to breathe right through that blockage. Try to release that space and see where else the breath wants to go into the body or where else the breath wants to leave the body from. Let's have a few breaths together. If you'd like, you can place your left hand over your heart, your chest, and your right hand over your belly. And the goal here is to be breathing to the bottom of the belly. So we want this belly to fill big, beautiful, round bellies. Robust, beautiful bellies taking in everything we need. And we want our hearts to be calm and our chest to relax, releasing whatever it is that the chest is holding tight to that it needs to release. So for 3 breaths, let's witness our right hand moving up and down while our left hand stays relatively still. Learn this position, learn this feeling, and you can come back to this anytime you'd like. You can always come back to the body and you can come back to the memory by just placing your hands gently in this position. Again, your body will have a memory of your practice. So breathing into the bottom of the belly through the nose, gently. Let's breathe together. In and out. In and out. And in and out. Find your flow. Okay. Bring your attention to your body and just feel. Just feel. I don't think it has to be a difficult practice. There's something about the work ethic of our culture that might teach us that you got to work hard. This is hard work. I hear it all the time, actually. I hear when people ask what it is I do, and I share with them, they say, "Ooh, that's hard work. Thanks for doing that. That's hard work." And I believe that they're being sincere to a degree. In some ways, I think what they're actually saying is, "I don't want to touch that." So, right on, good for you. uh, but I don't believe it has to be difficult work. I believe that these passages that we are moving through, these journeys that we are on, are as difficult as we need them to be. And I think we give some certain level of importance to something being difficult. And it's interesting because the things that we really need in this life, they're not difficult. They're not difficult. Um, we live in an abundance of water on this planet. It's just there. We make it difficult. We make it complicated. There's complexities to the relationship, even with the simplicity, but we complicate these things by creating all of these stopgaps between us and the providence. And we do this with everything, even with air. We create these difficulties with breathing in a way that is life giving and life affirming. Um, and we actually have to learn. We have to take the time to learn the practices. And maybe there are cultures and times when that was inherent. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. But I find it to be frustrating at times when I know how simple it can be. And still I have a mind that wants to complicate everything and wants to turn everything into a lesson or turn everything into a trial to be won or a obstacle to be overcome. Sometimes this is just what it is. This is just what it is. And probably always it is just what it is. And it's our mind, our practices that we have learned, that we have developed that complicate these things. So then the next level of that understanding for me is to love even that and to say, oh, even my complications, this is part of the whole. This is part of what this is. So I think about the ways in which I formulate defense mechanisms for myself or the ways in which I find hiding places within my identities that I can put out. And there's that part of me that wants to shame those things again. It keeps coming back to that. And then I go, oh, that's just a part of it too. That part of you that wants to shame it, that's not any more of the reality than the part of you that wants to love it. It's all here. And where I'm going to put my attention in that moment is where I'm going to go with it. Where I put my focus is what I'm going to find to be important. So I teach this sometimes to people who are in recovery, especially. Um, Crisis can become a way of life uh, in both addiction, the lead up to addiction, and the recovery process of addictions. Can include a lot of crisis because this is a way that we have learned to regulate our central nervous system is through crisis. But what happens is we start to live in this place of defense because we feel we are constantly threatened. I'm sure some of you understand that feeling that the world's a scary place, the world's dangerous, and you feel threatened. But when we put our focus and our attention in that way, our breath becomes shallow and then we find ourselves needing to take deep, big gulps of breath because we are breathing so shallowly for so long. And we breathe into our chest directly through our mouth, which is a biological function to help keep us safe if we need to run a long distance or fight. And so our body is geared towards being defensive. And then our mind, as our body is focusing on this way of being, our mind starts to collect that evidence because that's where our focus is. So it's scanning the landscape for evidence that you aren't safe. Same is true otherwise. We scan the evidence for why we love something, why we adore someone, why we love our job or love our school or whatever it is. If our focus is going there, our tendency is to collect the evidence to prove ourselves correct. So, really, the practice today might be the answer to the question of what does love ask of me today? That answer might be attention. Just simply attention. Just giving that moment to be attentive, to show up, to attend. I love the way the words mix together. The word tend is right there, to care for. To bring our attention is to bring our care, to arrive. But this is a choice. This is a choice. And the more we practice our abilities to utilize the different tools that we have to shift our attention, the more agency there is in being able to shift from layer to layer, focusing on the social layer. Now, these layers aren't compartmentalizing. It's not like we have to have boxes where this fits and that fits. It's just understanding that in any moment there's layers of a relationship. And as one's going away, another one is being filled. If you picture a mountain going away and crumbling downward, well, the next layer down is being filled. So now we have all of this richness of these complexities, but it's not complicated. Just bring your attention right to the center and understand with a loving view. What is happening right now is happening for my benefit, so that I may take it in and be more in love with this moment, so that I don't turn away, and so that I can attend to this life. And even as I say that, the pain that might block is going away, because everything is going away. We're on number 13 today, lucky number 13 in Bell Hook's Appalachian Elegy, Poetry in Place. Let's see what the Bell Hooks magic has for us today. Okay. Wingspan wide, death covers all. Prey and predator, turkey buzzards overhead. At the bottom of the hill, no eternity beckons, just ongoing decay. A deep, smothering emptiness, profound, prolonged lamentation. Birds cry high. profound, prolonged lamentation. Profound, prolonged lamentation. There's a teaching that all life as we understand it began with a sound. There's a practice of teaching a sound that has been held since the first teacher taught it, since the first moment it was understood. And there has been someone since that moment in our world. For thousands of years, there has been an unbroken lineage of Om. Someone somewhere, since the first time it was uttered and taught to another, there has been someone practicing that sound. So when you chant the Om, you are entering into an ancient chorus. But the teaching of the Om is that this sound is the sound that developed all life. This is the sound of creation. But I listened to bell hooks for that moment. And what I'm understanding is profound, prolonged lamentation. Maybe that Om is the sound of the wailing of loss. And that everything we have is created by our grief and our wailing of loss. This is a place of goodbyes. Maybe that's the sound of all creation, is the sound of letting go. Everything's held in place until the sound of letting go cracks it open. And it's for an eternity scattering. Now, I'm no rocket surgeon, but I've read my share of articles inspecting theories like the Big Bang. And I listened to some podcasts and some astrophysicists talk about the energetic expansion of all life. And I think, yes, of course. And there's this long false dichotomy of science and religion, or science and spirituality. But there's no need to even think about them as separate things. I don't think about communication as two different things. When it's in Spanish or it's in English, it's communication. Two languages, one might not understand the other, but they are saying the same things. And as I think about the understanding that everything is expanding greatly, and then eventually it will contract. Well, me too, universe. Me too. In this physical plane, I started off pretty small and I've expanded greatly. And one day I will contract and I will shrivel and I will wilt and I will wither into the earth. My breath expands me greatly and then I contract. My relationships and my connections, they grow distant and then they come together. I sit on the ocean shores and I watch as the tides come in and out, and everything gets bigger and smaller. And this is just the way it is. And every spiritual practice I've ever known has taught me that things will come and things will go, but there is a constancy. And that constancy, I think, can be threaded with our love. And our love is just another way to say attention as we bring our attention in. Thanks for being here this morning, friends. Thanks for coming on this little journey home with me. I'd love to hear your perspectives on this, so leave a comment, send a message, engage. Maybe there's no perspectives. Maybe I'm talking to myself into the endless void. That's okay. The birds outside of my window sing seemingly to themselves every morning, and I don't think they're crazy. So if that's what this is, enjoy my bird song today. But if there's something here that engages you, please engage with it. Bring your attention where you want to go. Take refuge in the Buddha, refuge in the Dharma, refuge in the Sangha. Try being in love today. Hariom.